And away we go, episode 1274 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Thursday, March 5th, 2026. It is a big day for our rebuilding and tanking Washington Wizards. I said it is a big day for our rebuilding and tanking Washington Wizards.
The damn Washington Wizards!
That's better. Thank you, ESPN's Stephen A. Smith. The Wizards, they host the Utah Jazz on Thursday night at 7 in a game in which Trae Young is expected to make his Wizards debut off having been out for all 25 of the Wizards games since the team acquired him via trade on January 9th. He has not been playing due to a right knee sprain and a right quadriceps contusion. But also with this game is it being a big game in the tank. The Wizards and Jazz are two of the worst teams in the NBA. So I, as a Wizards fan, want Trae Young to play well on Thursday night, but maybe not too well. Some unfortunate injury news for our Wizards. They on Wednesday night announced that Keyshawn George, in the team's 123-118 loss to the Houston Rockets at Capital One Arena this past Monday night, suffered a partial tear of the UCL in his left elbow and will be reevaluated in 3 weeks. So his season may be done. What has been an encouraging second NBA season for George, his true shooting percentage for this regular season is .559, was .503 for his rookie regular season. Hello and welcome to this Thursday installment of the Al Galdi podcast. Next segment, the first of two conversations with a good friend of this podcast, Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. We on this installment of the podcast will speak with Ben about him still having the team with its number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, taking Ohio State safety Caleb Downs, despite his underwhelming measurables at the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine, which Ben attended. The increasing possibility of the stock of Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson rising enough to where the Commanders trade their number 7 overall pick to a quarterback-needy team for a haul of picks, and analysis of the Commanders' lengthy and unique coaching staff revamping this offseason. There, to me, has not been enough examination of the Commanders' lengthy and unique coaching staff revamping this offseason. We, next segment, will conduct proper examination. Ben Standig, next segment, with Commanders Intel. And then after a conversation with Ben, analysis of breaking news on Wednesday night, reports of the Commanders agreeing on 1-year contract extensions with 2 defensive linemen who had been set to be unrestricted free agents next week, edge defender Deatrich Wise Jr. and interior defensive lineman Shy Tuttle. And I'll react to other news that emerged on Wednesday night. Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels now has his mom as his agent. Also on the show, more bad injury news at 2026 Baltimore Orioles spring training in Sarasota, Florida. I'll react to O's manager Craig Albernaz on Wednesday morning, revealing that reliever Andrew Kittredge has, quote, possibly a low probability, end quote, of being ready for the start of the 2026 regular season. This due to right shoulder inflammation. And on the show, we'll discuss college basketball, including Maryland getting destroyed at Wisconsin on Wednesday night. The Terrapins in the 2025-2026 regular season fell to 11-19 overall, including 4-15 in the Big Ten, with a 78-45 loss at Wisconsin, and yet another embarrassing loss in what is a disaster of a season. Before we get to feedback, the Washington Capitals, they on Wednesday morning announced having re-signed forward Ethan Frank to a 2-year, $4 million contract extension. He had been set to be a restricted free agent this coming offseason. Frank's 11 goals in the NHL's 2025-2026 regular season were, as of games through Tuesday, tied for the 7th most goals in the NHL among qualified skaters who average fewer than 13 minutes of ice time per game. Also, Frank is the fastest player on the Caps. He, per NHL Edge, for this regular season as of games through Tuesday, ranked in the 97th percentile among qualified NHL players in top skating speed and owned the fastest max skating speed among cap skaters, 23.52 miles per hour. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me, the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Dave in Israel on the Commanders' helmet for their Super Bowl era alternate uniform. I, on Tuesday's show, episode 1272, noted that the Commanders on February 25th on X put out a graphic in honor of the NFL on that day, announcing that the Commanders in the 2026 regular season will be hosting a game in London. The graphic included a Commanders helmet, and the helmet was the helmet from the Super Bowl era alternate uniform. What is the Redskins-like alternate uniform? The team officially calls that uniform the Super Bowl era alternate uniform, but the fact that the Commanders went with the Super Bowl era alternate helmet is yet another reason to believe that what I want and what so many of you want is happening. The team is planning on having the Super Bowl era alternate uniform, the Redskins-like alternate uniform, as the team's number one uniform. Writes Dave, Al, if you are one of the 8% of men, my father included, may he rest in peace, and 0.5% of women who are colorblind, according to ChatGPT, please disregard this email. For the rest of my brothers and sisters in Redskins Nation, it has been great to see the old Redskins jerseys, but there's still something very, very wrong. The actual Redskins uniform has a burgundy helmet, not a cranberry helmet. If the team can't get the logo right, at least get the colors correct. Let's get that fixed for 2026. Thank you for the email, Dave. So I looked at the helmet from the Super Bowl era alternate uniform and looked at the Redskins helmet from the Super Bowl era, and it depends on which photos you look at in terms of whether there's a difference in the burgundy for each helmet. In some instances, yes, the helmet from the Super Bowl era alternate uniform does appear to have a lighter burgundy, a cranberry, as compared to the Redskins helmet from the Super Bowl era. But in other instances, I really don't see a difference. I'm not saying that Dave is wrong, but what we have here isn't exactly clear. If anyone knows the answer to this, let me know. Is the burgundy for the helmet from the Super Bowl era alternate uniform a different burgundy than the burgundy for the helmet from the Super Bowl era? Email from Sarah Mahoney on something special happening in our region. Writes Sarah, Hi Al, I'm a loyal listener of the Al Galdi Show and Nats Chat, a longtime Washington area sports fan who has your podcast on during my commute. By day, I serve as Assistant Director of Media and Public Relations for the University of Mary Washington in Fredericksburg. It is not often that my professional role and personal sports fandom intersect, but this week is one of those times. While you typically spotlight Division I programs in the region, Maryland, UVA, Virginia Tech, and others, I wanted to flag something that might interest your listeners who enjoy high-level college basketball. UMW is hosting the first and second rounds of the NCAA Division III men's basketball tournament this Friday and Saturday, March 6th and 7th in Fredericksburg. The Eagles enter postseason play at 24-3 and will face Worcester State on Friday at 7:30 p.m. following a 5 p.m. matchup between WPI and Amherst. Winners advance Saturday night with a Sweet 16 berth on the line. For fans who may not have a chance to attend a bowl game or Division I tournament matchup, this is a great opportunity to see NCAA tournament basketball locally at an accessible price point. It's of interest for a quick mention in your rundown. I'm happy to share additional details. Information is also available at umweagles.com. Thanks for all you do covering D.C. area sports. Well, thank you very much for the email, Sarah. Happy to promote what you guys have going on. That website again, umweagles.com. The University of Mary Washington in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Famous people who went to the University of Mary Washington include actor Judge Reinhold, although he also went to Palm Beach State College. But Judge Reinhold was raised in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Judge Reinhold, terrific in the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High, terrific in the Beverly Hills Cop movies. Well, Judge Reinhold and Eddie Murphy in the Beverly Hills Cop movies, a part of a well-built team, and like a well-built team, a well-built wardrobe is about pieces that work together and hold up over time. That's what Quince does best. Premium materials, thoughtful design, and everyday staples that feel easy to wear and easy to rely on, even as the weather shifts. Quince has the everyday essentials that I love with quality that lasts. Organic cotton sweaters, polos for every occasion, lighter jackets that keep you warm in the changing seasons. The list goes on. Also, Quince works directly with top factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're not paying for brand markup, just quality clothing. Everything is built to hold up to daily wear and still look good season after season. And Quince only partners with factories that meet rigorous standards for craftsmanship and ethical production. I have a Quince blue wool pullover. Looks good, keeps me warm, is durable. It's tremendous. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast. If you're not already doing that, subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast Washington Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. You could read his work at lastmanstandig.substack.com. He also is the host of the Last Man Standing podcast. You could follow Ben on X at Ben Standig. Ben is joining us for the first of two conversations. In our upcoming conversation with Ben, we'll go in-depth on the Commanders' plans and free agency, but in this conversation with Ben, we'll discuss the Commanders' plans with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft and the truth about the team's now concluded coaching staff revamping this offseason. Ben's Substack is terrific. He on his Substack on Wednesday morning put out his mock 2026 NFL Draft 4.0. This off having attended the 2026 NFL Scouting Combine, which took place from Monday, February 23rd through Monday, March 2nd. It took place at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. And Ben, in his mock draft 4.0, has the Commanders with their number 7 overall pick taking Ohio State safety Caleb Downs. Quote, "I'm sticking with Downs for a third consecutive mock. That's not me planting a flag on the All-American's future. Despite unimpressive measurables at the Combine, the league remains high on the defensive playmaker. Same," end quote. Downs at the Combine did have some underwhelming measurables in being measured this past Friday, February 27th. A height of just 5'11" and 5/8 of an inch, weight of 206 pounds, arm length of 30 1/4 inches, wingspan of 73 1/4 inches. Conversely, we saw Ohio State linebacker Sonny Styles go nuclear with his measurables at the Combine. The guy is like an alien. Ben, you talk to NFL executives, coaches, and agents a lot. How much do Combine measurables truly matter?
I think this is like it is for any sport, right? I mean, it matters. Then the question is, does the talent or the performances outweigh that? Aaron Donald wasn't the biggest guy out there, and that's why he fell in the first round his year. I think clearly teams would look at that again and think, oh, we screwed up that. And obviously that's the silliest of examples because he was the best defensive player in the league for several years. But it does matter. At certain positions you need, certain traits. And so I do think it matters. Like Ruben Bain is obviously going to be a really interesting one because of the shorter arms. What does that do for him? So in the case of Downs, the sense I've had in talking to people has been, I don't give a crap. Like when that, on the day that Downs the numbers came out that his measurables weren't particularly impressive. And I saw some tweet, oh no, this is going to hurt his stock. I screenshotted it, sent it to somebody I know in the front office with the team. And I'm like, what do you think? And I just got back an LOL emoji, like, he's good. Don't worry about it. Carnell Tate, I've sort of heard the same thing, running 4.53 isn't horrendous for a 6'2 guy, but on the day when everybody's running insane times, it seems a little slow. But again, hey, watch the tape. This guy can play. So I think it just depends. If you are like if De'Ami Brown is not running a whatever he was running 4.3 something, if he slows down, there's no justification for keeping him even, because that's his game. It's predicated on that speed. But if you do other things like Terry McLaurin, even if he loses, whatever he was, a 4.3 something, he drops to a 4.4, it's not as big of a deal because he's an excellent route runner, makes contested catches, etc. So it just depends, I think, on the individual and the talent. But yeah, it's as a minimum, as a tiebreaker, it does matter.
My dream scenario for the Commanders at 7 is them trading down with a quarterback-needy team for a boatload of picks. That scenario has seemed very unlikely given how bad the quarterback class in the 2026 NFL Draft is perceived to be. That said, the stock of Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson seems to be rising. Is the dream scenario of the Commanders trading their number 7 overall pick to a quarterback-needy team for a boatload of picks perhaps getting closer to reality?
Well, I think it's getting closer to reality that he goes top half of the draft. I mean, I see it's either people are saying he could go top 10, or they're like some team at the end of the first round will trade in to take him at the end, like the way the Giants did with Jackson Dart. I'm no scout. I watched Alabama, as we all do, over the course of a college football season. In the first half of the season, I was like, who is this guy? He's really good. This is legit. And I remember asking some people, hey, some scouts, is this a real thing, or is he just a great college guy? And they're like, no, I think there's something here, but he just hadn't played enough, right? And that's ultimately the rub. He played one season in college. The last few weeks weren't particularly impressive. Maybe he was hurt, whatever. So you got to look at that. But everybody's so desperate for quarterbacks. And I think in the mock draft I did, I had Pittsburgh at 21 trading up to 12 to take him, because I think, obviously it sounds like they're going to bring back Aaron Rodgers. Okay. So great. Let Simpson sit there for a year. I wish more teams would let their first round quarterback sit, but they never do. They just rush them all in. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes it's not. And so I would rather, if say he goes there, right? Or the Rams take him at 13 and he gets to sit behind Stafford for a year. But here's the thing in terms of Washington, what you're asking specifically. This is where I think they may get screwed. So the outside the top 10, the first team that you would think maybe takes a quarterback is Miami at 11, right? Dallas at 12 won't. The Rams at 13 aren't going to trade. Well, who knows? Maybe they love Simpson, but I doubt they trade up for him. So that the teams in between Miami and Washington, the Saints, Chiefs, and Bengals, why wouldn't they make whatever trade you're going to make, right? So unless Washington says, hey, somebody's on the line with us and they're willing to give us X to move into our spot, somebody's going to have to go to Washington and say, yeah, we'll go all the way up to you to get this done. And that's the part where I don't know that somebody's going to do that, jump that much, but we'll see. It feels like the stock has been rising and nothing, hasn't done that much. He did have a good combine, it looks like, whatever that means. So he'll have a pro day. He'll talk to some more teams. And I think it's at least more of a chance than it was. I still don't know if it's a great chance.
We're talking with Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. I am fascinated by the Commanders' now concluded coaching staff revamping. The revamp happened just 2 seasons into the Commanders' head coaching tenure of Dan Quinn, who we were told put together a great staff off being hired by the team in February 2024. B, the revamp took a while, took nearly 2 months. It started with the team on January 6th, parting with offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, offensive line coach Bobby Johnson, and defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. Ended with the Commanders this past Monday evening, March 2nd, officially announcing their 2026 coaching staff. So from January 6th to March 2nd, C, the revamp is constituted mostly not of external hires, but of promotions and demotions. The promotions: David Blau has been promoted from assistant quarterbacks coach to offensive coordinator. David Rye has been promoted from tight ends coach to offensive pass game coordinator. Darnell Stapleton has been promoted from assistant offensive line coach to offensive line coach. Shane Tobe has been promoted from offensive quality control coach to assistant offensive line coach. Jesse Madden has been promoted from offensive quality control coach to assistant running backs coach. Andre Coleman has been promoted from offensive assistant to assistant receivers coach / returners coach. William Gay has been promoted from assistant defensive backs coach to defensive backs / cornerbacks coach. George Banco has been promoted from defensive quality control coach to assistant linebackers coach. The demotions: Anthony Lynn has been demoted from run game coordinator / running backs coach to just running backs coach. Daryl Tapp has been demoted from defensive line coach to assistant defensive line coach. Tom Donatel has been demoted from defensive backs coach to defensive backs / safeties coach. It is not often that a coaching staff revamp features so many promotions, given that a coaching staff revamp usually happens due to, what? Dissatisfaction with the coaching. Also, it is not often that a coaching staff revamp features so many demotions, as usually a coach being demoted just leaves. What's more surprising about the Commanders coaching staff revamp, the promotions or the demotions?
Yeah, the demotions, people, look, at the end of the day, it is a job, just like the rest of us have a job. You got to get paid, and hey, maybe their family likes it here or whatever, and they were cool with that. I don't know. Maybe Daryl Tapp said, hey, you know what? I need to learn more or whatever. So, okay, that's fine. I think the promotions part, though, to me, feels where this is like it can be spun as positive, but I don't really look at it that way. Sort of like I said before, there's no, even if you want to tell me the day before they fired Kingsbury that they were locked in on keeping Blau, okay, you cannot tell me that their plan with a defensive-minded head coach was to have around David Blau a former tight ends coach who has not called plays since Vanderbilt. DJ Williams is a young guy who's been a coach for a minute. He has more experience than Blau. He's never called plays. I mean, he can certainly call his dad and get some advice, but that's not a real thing. The offensive line coach. Okay, the offensive line coach is like, other than the offensive coordinator, is probably the most important coach on the offense. Is Darnell Stapleton the right guy? We'll see. But again, on top of a rookie OC, you're going with a rookie O-line coach? Boy, I just none of that makes sense. And the second they pick Blau, it seemed pretty apparent that Brian Johnson was going to want to leave, right? He's getting passed over for this guy. Again, maybe it's the right move. So you kind of know he was going to leave, I would think. And yet, they waited. What were they waiting for? They were waiting for him to make a decision? Screw that. You go make the decision. Like I kept talking about Darrell Bevell, who worked with Quinn in Seattle when they won the Super Bowl. He was David Blau's either OC or quarterback coach in Detroit at one point. What a fit. This guy's been a quarterback coach and all that stuff forever. He ends up at Carolina as the assistant head coach and senior offensive assistant. It's essentially the job that Brian Johnson had. Unless you're telling me that somehow there's a fallout and Darrell Bevell doesn't like Dan Quinn or something, why would he not be the obvious choice you could have signed a while ago? Instead, he didn't, because I think that part of it is people were looking at Washington as like, I don't know if I trust this thing long haul, leading to Washington then, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to promote a bunch of guys, so it looks like we're coming up that way. And Quinn did say when he got hired that one of his goals he learned from Atlanta was to have more options, so in case guys leave, you have fill-ins. You can't have 10. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just impossible that this was the way to go. So it's a little confusing to say the least. Doesn't mean it's wrong, but it's definitely confusing.
Yeah, the Anthony Lynn scenario is especially odd. The rest of the NFL thought enough of the guy to where he this offseason interviewed for 2 head coaching jobs. Those are the Buffalo Bills and Cleveland Browns, but the Commanders did not think enough of him to even interview him for their offensive coordinator vacancy per reports and ended up demoting him.
Well, and the other thing is so they didn't fill the job, right? So you're saying demotion is not wrong, but they also didn't fill it. So my understanding is that it may be like Anthony Lynn and Stapleton sort of, collaborate on that. So maybe maybe it's just a title devotion, and maybe he doesn't give a crap about that. But they don't have a run game coordinator on offense. They don't have a passing game coordinator on defense. Jason Simmons left. They don't have an assistant head coach, which is the role that Brian Johnson had. You can tell me none of that matters. The run game, passing game coordinator stuff, that wasn't even a thing 5 years ago. So maybe it's nothing. But again, like the only guy, right? Tell me I'm wrong. Who the only person that they brought in who were like, okay, that looks like an interesting hire is the defensive line coach, Eric Henderson. He was in college. I can understand he wants to get back to the NFL, I presume. So that makes sense where you're willing to say, sure, I'll go here. I want to get back in that game. But everybody else, I guess like the Ben Steele hire, but as late as it was in the process, he's got to get something. A tight end coach is very different. They're often on 1 years and they move around. So yeah, it looks to me like a group that was having a hard time getting people to come in, which again is why you look at free agency and think, well, okay, if I'm a player who can sign a 3-year deal and I got comparable offers, this one has Jayden Daniels, but that one has like a coach, like say it's the Giants. John Harbaugh just got hired. He's not going anywhere. So I know what I'm getting here for more than 1 year. Here, I don't know. What if they bring in another coach who doesn't do, isn't do what I think I do best? I think this is going to be a potential rub here for them, and that's why I'm a little bit nervous for them going to all this.
And in our next conversation, we'll discuss all of this, i.e., the Commanders in free agency. Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack. Ben, thanks, and we'll talk soon.
Pleasure, man. Thanks, Al.
All right. Hey, if you are planning a wedding or you know someone who is, check out or have that person check out cateringbyuptown.com. Catering by Uptown delivers not just delicious food of the highest quality, but also a flawless and memorable experience tailored to your special day. Catering by Uptown's team is dedicated to meeting your every need with elegance and precision. If you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you can set up your own personal tour of one of Catering by Uptown's premier venues, including outstanding waterfront venues. Also, Catering by Uptown is great for parties, so whether a birthday, an anniversary, a retirement, or a charity gala. Catering by Uptown understands that special events deserve to be celebrated in style. Catering by Uptown takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. Catering by Uptown is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, so they are great Commanders fans and loyal supporters of this podcast. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, we on Wednesday night had reports that the Washington Commanders have agreed on one-year contract extensions with two defensive linemen who had been set to be unrestricted free agents in the 2026 offseason, edge defender Deatrich Wise Jr. and interior defensive lineman Shy Tuttle. Each guy is a veteran. Each guy presumably is re-signing for not that much money, but each guy is being retained by the team. The Commanders last March 19th announced having signed Deatrich Wise as an unrestricted free agent. He was to be a key part of the defense, but he and the team's 27-18 loss at the Green Bay Packers on Thursday Night Football on September 11th suffered a season-ending quadriceps injury. Wise was taken by the New England Patriots in the fourth round of the 2017 NFL Draft out of the University of Arkansas. He spent his first 8 NFL seasons with the Pats. He, over his 8 regular seasons with the Pats, was very durable, played in 126 of a possible 132 games, but of course, he comes here and he gets hurt in week 2 of the regular season. Like, when you talk about the Commanders' horrendous injury luck this past season, Deatrich Wise is a prime example of that. The 2026 season would be his age 32 season. He is the brother of former Washington interior defensive lineman Daniel Wise, who played for Washington in the 2021 and 2022 regular seasons. If the Commanders with Durante Jones as defensive coordinator, are switching to a 3-4 base defense. I do wonder if Deatrich Wise in that alignment is part of the 3 as opposed to the 4, is part of the 3 interior defensive linemen up front as opposed to an edge defender / outside linebacker as a part of the 4. The Commanders got Shy Tuttle via claiming him off waivers from the Tennessee Titans this past December 22nd. The 2026 season would be his age 31 season. I would not read much into the Commanders agreeing with Wise and Tuttle on one-year contract extensions in terms of the team's plans in free agency. Neither guy may make the team's initial 53-man roster for the 2026 season. I very much anticipate the Commanders being aggressive in free agency and anticipate a lot of change for the roster. From Monday, March 9th at 12 p.m. Eastern until Wednesday, March 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern, have what is known as the legal tampering period, the period during which teams are permitted to contact and enter into contract negotiations with the certified agents of external players who are set to become unrestricted free agents this offseason. And then we, on Wednesday, March 11th at 4 p.m. Eastern, have the start of the NFL's 2026-2027 league year, which marks when teams this offseason can begin officially signing external players who have become unrestricted free agents via expiring contracts, and marks when teams this offseason can officially begin executing trades of players. Now, I just used the phrase certified agents. Also on Wednesday night was this: the emergence of the news that Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels now has his mom, Regina Jackson, as his agent. This is according to the website for the NFL Players Association. Our guest last segment, Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack, noticed this. Daniels' agent had been a veteran agent, Ron Butler, but Daniels' agent now is his mom. Regina Jackson became a certified NFLPA agent in 2024. Whether she is her son's agent just for now or for the long term, we don't know, but keep in mind that Daniels is contract extension eligible starting with the 2027 offseason. So a year from now, Daniels could have his mom negotiating a mega money contract extension with the Commanders. There's nothing necessarily wrong with Jayden Daniels having his mom as his agent. I mean, that arrangement isn't common. Most NFL players do not have family members as agents, but his mom obviously is someone he knows well and trusts, and she seems to be a smart person, so her being his agent, while unusual, isn't necessarily bad. She is active on X. She's not shy on X. We have come to know that. But, plenty of agents are active on X. So if you're going to be mad at her for being active on X, fine. But she's not alone in that behavior in terms of NFL agents. Mixing family and business together can be tricky and problematic. But to me, until we have definite tangible signs that Daniels' mom being his agent is a problem, I'm not worried about Daniels' mom being his agent being a problem. I am not going to do some cliche sports talk radio rant that Jayden Daniels' mom is the same as former Redskins quarterback Robert Griffin III's dad. These are two very different situations. Mama Daniels is not RG2. Not as best as we can tell. Speaking of Jayden Daniels, good stuff from Commanders edge defender Von Miller on Daniels on The Rich Eisen Show this past Tuesday. Take a listen to this.
You got a good Jayden Daniels story for me, Von, where you're like, you first realized, okay, he is the guy, or anything that might shed light on him?
I've been around a lot of great quarterbacks. This is a Jayden Daniels story, but I always got to bring Josh Allen into it. Josh Allen, man, he is a unicorn. Not just a great player on the football field, but like that's the quarterback that you want whenever you're building a team. It's more than just playing great on the football field. It's more than just having a great arm strength and the angles. Like, he has all that. The way he moves around the locker room, the way he moves around that facility, it energizes guys. He's a jokester, a prankster. It's Josh Allen, but he has this way of dropping your guard and making you feel like you're one of the guys when you're on his team. Jayden Daniels is the same way. Not as pranky, not as chatty as Josh Allen, but he just has this way of dropping your guard and making you feel part of the team. Jayden Daniels, he's a special talent. He can run, he can pass, he's smart. And I think the things that really stood out for me is he just has that moxie. Whatever that meaning is, he just has that confidence. Like, the game is never too big for him, it's never too small for him. Sometimes you can observe quarterbacks and they just look afraid out there. Never has that been the case with Jayden Daniels, no matter who we playing. He's a warrior, has some great traits of the late Kobe Bryant. And that's the type of personality that you want with your quarterback.
Yes, it is. Von Miller, by the way, set to be an unrestricted free agent next week. We have yet another negative injury development at 2026 Baltimore Orioles spring training in Sarasota, Florida. O's manager Craig Albernaz, he on Wednesday morning during a session with reporters revealed that reliever Andrew Kittredge has, quote, possibly a low probability, end quote, of being ready for the start of the 2026 regular season. This due to right shoulder inflammation. The O's on February 12th announced that second baseman Jackson Holliday on that day had undergone surgery to address a fractured hamate bone in his right wrist, was expected to miss at least the first few weeks of the regular season. And Orioles president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Elias, he on February 20th during a session with reporters announced that third baseman / second baseman Jordan Westburg had a partial UCL tear in his right elbow, was receiving a platelet-rich plasma PRP injection on that day and would be out at least through the end of April. So first Jackson Holliday, then Jordan Westburg, now Andrew Kittredge. The O's off back-to-back injury-plagued seasons are not off to a good start regarding having good injury luck in the 2026 season. Wild last 15 months for Andrew Kittredge. The O's on January 13th, 2025 announced having agreed with Kittredge as a free agent on a one-year contract for the 2025 season with a club option for the 2026 season. He was on the 15-day injured list from March 27th, retroactive to March 24th to May 21st due to left knee debridement surgery that he underwent on March 7th. He, for the O's in MLB's 2025 regular season, had the following stats: 31 games, 31 and a third innings, ERA of 3.45, whip of 1.09, strikeouts per 9 innings of 9.19. The O's last July 31st, what was 2025 MLB trade deadline day, announced having traded Kittredge to the Chicago Cubs for shortstop prospect Wilfred De La Cruz. But the O's on November 4th announced having traded cash considerations to the Cubs for Kittredge. And the O's on November 6th announced having exercised their 2026 club option on Kittredge. The plan was for him to be a key setup man for the team's new closer Ryan Helsley. The O's on December 1st announced having agreed with free agent reliever Ryan Helsley on a 2-year contract with a player opt-out for the 2027 season. Here were multiple exchanges with Craig Albernaz on Wednesday morning, and he during these exchanges revealed that Tyler Wells, who the O's have used as both a starter and a reliever, is back to being a reliever.
We haven't seen Andrew Kittredge pitch in a couple days. What's going on with him?
Yeah, he has some right shoulder inflammation, so we kind of slowed down his progression. It creeped up his last outing here, and so we just want to do right by him and make sure we get that knocked out.
Do you now have Taylor Wells as a bullpen option rather than as a starter?
Yeah, we talked to Wellesley. Spring training, maybe feels like 2 weeks ago, probably a week ago, about going in the pen, and Wellesley was great about it. He just wants to go out there and compete, and it also raises our floor in the pen as well. So, so Wells will be a relief pitcher in the bullpen for us.
Do you see him as a guy who would beat the high leverage late inning, or is he so valuable because he could maybe pitch any time between the fifth and the ninth inning?
To me, that's the biggest value with him, is between the fifth and ninth inning. Like, he can pitch leverage. He has the stuff for it. He has the makeup, but also he can pitch early in the game too. And that's to me where a high functioning bullpen can start to form, is where you have guys that are Swiss Army knives that can do a lot of stuff, and Wells fits that mold.
To jump back to Kittredge, do you have a timeline or anything like that, or is it just slow progression?
It's a slow progression. We'll kind of see where it goes. as we look forward to opening day, possibly a low probability of opening day, for saying that we just want to make sure that he's not rushing this. We want to make sure that he gets this inflammation knocked out and gets back to being Andrew Kittredge. So we don't want to put any timeline or anything in front of him, and kind of just make sure that, similar to Felix, that he's attacking each day to kind of get that inflammation settled.
All right. Remember the man who had been the Orioles closer, the man known as the Mountain, Felix Bautista. He again is recovering from serious injury. Bautista this past August 19th underwent surgery to repair a torn right rotator cuff and torn right labrum. And the O's this past August 20th, in announcing the surgery, said that he was expected to be out for 12 months. Bautista in October 2023 underwent Tommy John surgery. The O's this past November 21st announced having agreed with Bautista on a one-year contract for the 2026 season, avoiding arbitration. Hey, present the best version of yourself via OneSkin, which is the best product for skincare. OneSkin formulas are powered by the OS1 peptide, a patented peptide built on longevity science proven to target aging at the cellular level. OneSkin supports the cellular repair that keeps your skin looking and feeling better as you get older. This is not about adding extra steps to your routine. No, this is about swapping in smarter ones. Born from over 10 years of longevity research, OneSkin's OS1 peptide is proven to target the cells that cause the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now and as you age. And for a limited time, OneSkin is making it even easier to stay consistent with up to 30% off your first 3 subscription orders when you use the promo code GALDY at oneskin.co/GALDY. That's oneskin.co/GALDY and use the promo code GALDY. oneskin.co/GALDY, up to 30% off with the promo code GALDY. And after your purchase, you'll be asked where you heard about OneSkin. Please support our show and say that Al Galdi sent you. And let's talk college basketball. Another humiliating loss for Maryland in its nightmare of a season. The Terrapins in the 2025-2026 regular season fell to 11-19 overall, including 4-15 in the Big Ten, with a 78-45 loss at Wisconsin on Wednesday night. Yes, 78-45, a 33-point loss. The Terps got annihilated. Maryland lost a Big Ten game by at least 10 points for the 13th time in this regular season. The season has been a parade of blowout losses. Maryland got outscored by Wisconsin in fast break points 25-0. Got outscored by Wisconsin in points by reserves 39-10. Maryland remained without its best player, 6'9" Texas A&M transfer Pharrell Payne. He did not play for a 19th consecutive game due to a right knee injury. Also 6'3" Indiana transfer Miles Rice was not available to play for a 9th consecutive game. But what a disaster of a first season for Buzz Williams as Terps head coach. Nobody expected the season to go as poorly as it has. 4-15 in the Big Ten, with 13 of the losses, each by at least 10 points. Next up for Maryland, mercifully, is its regular season finale, home to number 11 Illinois Sunday afternoon at 3. A nice win for George Washington on its senior night. The Revolutionaries in this regular season improved to 17-13 overall, including 8-9 in the A-10, with a 91-82 win over St. Bonaventure at the Charles E. Smith Center in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday night. 4th season for Chris Caputo as GW head coach. His team can score. GW scored at least 90 points for the 11th time in 30 games in this regular season. Next up for George Washington is its regular season finale at Loyola Chicago, Saturday afternoon at 2. And we are keeping an eye on James Madison and Old Dominion in the Sun Belt Conference tournament at Pensacola Bay Center in Pensacola, Florida. The number 9 seeded Dukes beat number 12 seeded Louisiana 87-72 on Wednesday evening in the second round. Next up for JMU is a game against number 8 seeded Southern Miss Thursday evening at 6 in the third round. Number 11 seeded Old Dominion, it on Tuesday night beat number 14 seeded ULM 87-80 in the first round, but the Monarchs lost to number 10 seeded Georgia Southern 88-84 on Wednesday night in the second round. And that'll do it for you and me for now. Keep the feedback coming. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Friday show, episode 1275. We'll have much more on the Washington Commanders. Also on Friday's show, I'll talk Washington Wizards and college basketball. The Wizards are home to the Utah Jazz Thursday night at 7, in a game in which Trae Young is expected to make his Wizards debut. And we on Thursday night at 7 have 2 games of note in the quarterfinals of the Patriot League tournament. Number 1 seeded Navy is home to number 8 seeded Bucknell Thursday night at 7, and number 5 seeded American is at number 4 seeded Boston Thursday night at 7. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
The damn Washington Wizards.